What's up, guys? Dylan Rush with Cage Side Press, joined today by an undefeated combat athlete, 8-0, 4-0 now in karate combat, Mr. Ross Turbo Levine. How you doing, Ross?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you. I'm just kind of enjoying the nice weather out here, but yeah, happy to chat.
So where are you at right now? Are you in New Hampshire?
No. So I live in Rhode Island. I went to New Hampshire for grad school, and then I kind of trickled down here after I was done with my graduate degree, and now I live in Warwick, Rhode Island.
So I read that you got a degree in kinesiology from Brooklyn College. Is that true?
That is true. Yep. Yeah, I grew up in Brooklyn, lived there till I was about 25, and then got my doctorate in physical therapy up in New Hampshire.
So I know you have this professional fighting career and it's going very well, but are you maybe planning to get some use for that degree after your career, maybe go into something related to physical therapy or kinesiology?
I mean, I'm doing it right now. I'm still active as a physical therapist and strength and conditioning coach. So I actually own my own business called Turbo Sports Performance, and I really just help martial artists and combat athletes all over the world. Whether it's recovering from injury or working on just getting stronger and faster or performing at a high level. That's what I do for full time. It's funny, like most people think professional fighting is like a full time gig, and it
Yeah.
is, but that's almost like my side job. So it's kind of cool.
That's dope. I like it. I like it. A good balance. Uh, I was gonna ask, uh, damn it, what was I just about to ask that you just mentioned? I don't know. I'm about to cut that part out. But you started training MMA at age 7. Is that correct?
So yeah, I started with martial arts. I did Taekwondo since I was a little kid. I was training since I was 7 years old, and then kind of transitioned, did some sport karate. It wasn't until I was like 26 that I started kickboxing. So I kind of still think of myself relatively new as a kickboxer, but did my amateur career, turned pro, and here we are.
Do you ever think about going back to kickboxing? Do you see any more kickboxing matches in your future?
I'm not sure. It's possible. I'm getting older, man. I'm going to be 36 this year, and I had an opportunity with Glory, which was great, and then unfortunately, COVID is what cut that short. And then I had the opportunity again to sign with Karate Combat, and I feel like the skill set and the environment for Karate Combat was like perfectly fit to my style, the way I like to blend like my movement, my angles, things like that. And it just provided a really cool opportunity for me to go out there and test myself a little bit. So I'm 4-0 with Karate Combat now. I just signed a 2-year extension, which got posted
Yep.
recently.
Yep.
So yeah, man. I mean, we'll see what the future brings. I'll never say no to anything. Or I'll never say never. So you never know. We'll see.
Speaking about never saying never, I know you're a two-time middleweight champion, but recently you said that you'd be open to fighting at heavyweight, which is a big
Mm.
jump. Do you see maybe a heavyweight fight in your future, maybe down the line?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Karate Combat calls the heavyweight division the what most like mixed martial artists know as the light heavyweight division. So 205. So it's
Okay.
not that big of a jump. I usually walk around at like 205,
Yeah.
and a lot of the guys in Karate Combat, they're not your typical like MMA fighter that cuts down from 230 pounds or 240 pounds. So I think size wise, even if they're a little bigger, I think my skills are still superior. So I do see some fights at 205 coming, hopefully pretty soon. I would love to get in there as early as June. I know there's a Karate Combat event coming up in May, and then also late June in Miami. So I'm hoping to get on the card and do some work in the heavyweight division if there's no middleweights ready for a challenge.
I saw on your live yesterday you were cooking something. I don't know what you were cooking. It looked good. But you mentioned that June card. So May, that's coming up. That's a little bit short notice. But the June card, is there any opponents, anybody you got your eye on, or are you just looking to get out there, fight anybody who wants it?
I mean, really anybody. I'm down for anything. If there's an opportunity for a title fight right away at 205, I'd be open to that. There's a vacant title, so the guy that in my opinion is the best fighter in the heavyweight division. His name is Ashraf Uchen. He's from Morocco, really good kickboxer. Has a karate background as well. I think that would be a hell of a fight. I've actually called him out a couple times, and I haven't heard any responses. So I don't know what that's about, but yeah, there's a couple other guys at 205 that I'd love to fight. There's a guy, El Haji Endur. He's from actually New York City as well. So they call him Black Magic. So that would be a cool kind of battle in New York. There's another gentleman, Elvin Agayev from Azerbaijan, who's very good as well. So Yeah, man, I got my eye on everybody.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
really no one that I'll turn down. So I'm just down to fight.
Turbo versus Black Magic. I like that one. That one sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember what I was gonna ask you earlier when I had a brain fart and I stuttered. I saw that you used to teach. I don't know if you do you still teach combat sports to either kids or to other martial artists.
I do, yeah. So my home gym, Pride Martial Arts, that's here in Wakefield, Rhode Island. So I still go down and teach there. You know, I'm training there several days a week, but I teach once a week as well. And we do have a whole bunch of amateur fighters, a couple other pros there too. So I'm always working their corners. Lately, we've actually been on quite the tear. So we've had, let's see, we had two fighters this past weekend go 2-0, and the week before that we went 3-0. So
Oh
we're
yeah.
Pride Martial Arts is on a little roll, man. It's cool, and I love teaching. You know, I teach seminars, I travel. So I'm a big fan of teaching. You know, even when I was younger doing martial arts, I taught a lot. You know, I was teaching since I was like 15, 16 years old. So I'm a big fan of giving back. And I really am a firm believer that teaching makes you a better athlete as well.
You just stole my next question, man. I was gonna say, do you feel like teaching elevates? Does teaching help you elevate your own skills? But I also read that you said a good instructor is not only a good teacher but a great motivator. How do you do
Yeah.
that? How do you become a great motivator? Are you born a great motivator, or does that take time to like learn and master?
I think both, man. It's something you have to have in you. Not everyone has great leadership skills, right? You see it across all sports. You know, some people can be amazing athletes, but they're just not great
Yeah.
leaders. It is
Yeah.
what it is. That's just a different characteristic that not everybody has. And I think you have to learn by being around other great motivators. You know, if I can give a quick shout out to one of my sport karate coaches, Mike Conroy. You know, that guy was he was a good competitor, but he was like one of the best motivators I think I'd ever been around. He just knew how to get inside everyone's head and really push us and know when to push, know when to pull, and kind of push our buttons a little bit and get the best out of us. So yeah, it's important to have that blend of being able to convey like the proper skill, proper technique, but also just motivate the heck out of everybody. So it's definitely a skill that needs practice. But I love teaching, and yes, to answer your question, I think it's 100%. It elevates your skills because you know if you're one of my students, I want you to do everything right, which means I have to be perfect
Gotta lead
all the
by
time.
example.
Yeah, I've always got to be on when I'm on the mats. If I have an off day teaching, all my students are going to have off weeks. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
you got to stay on top of it.
Definitely, definitely. Back way back to what I was mentioning, you started training combat sports at age 7. How much did your father, Charles Levine, have to do with that? I know he was a great kickboxer himself. Is he like your greatest influence to what got you to the sport originally, or was it your brother Josh?
Yeah, I mean, you know, honestly, I tell this story in a lot of interviews. It's like I really never wanted to do martial arts. I never thought that you know, sitting still and listening to someone tell me what to do and like following orders was for me. I was more of like a rambunctious kid. I was always rollerblading up and down the street while my brother wanted to, you know, do martial arts. My dad was a kickboxer and martial artist, and he always, you know, kind of pushed us towards it, but never forced us. And then it wasn't until my brother got a trophy from a local event that I was like, oh, okay, there's a reward for doing this. So you know, I guess I got into it for all the wrong reasons, but stuck with it. So yeah, I wouldn't say that he was my biggest influence, but you know, as time went on, he became a big piece and a huge component to my success.
Well, I want to ask you about a couple other people that might have influenced you. We'll start with Tae Sun Kang, Dennis Bousis. I don't want to say his last name. Angel
Yeah,
Redondo.
yeah,
Did those guys
yeah.
help get kickstarted in this whole career?
Yeah, man, you did your research, man. You did your
Oh,
research.
come on, man.
Those are I mean those are like the three guys that really introduced me to martial arts. So when I first started doing Taekwondo, you know, back in Nostrand Avenue, Avenue U in Brooklyn,
Oh yeah.
um, T Kang Taekwondo, that was where I was at. So, you know, Dennis Bouzis was the head instructor there at the time. Um, yeah, those guys, those are throwback names. Angel Redondo, those are the first three that really kind of molded me. And those were when I was 7 years old. They were teaching me how to punch and kick. So 100%, that was a huge piece of my development.
You're Ross Levine, man. We got to do our research. I got two more names to throw out. Nate Andrade and Jedi Tenton. Did those guys help you, influence you, and help propel you throughout your career?
Yeah, so Nate, as I was doing sport karate, you know, those of you who have seen like videos of me competing and stuff, I used to do not just like the point fighting, but I was also doing like forms and weapons and stuff like that. It was like choreographed routines.
Yeah.
So I would use like a staff. So if you watched Ninja Turtles, like Leonardo was the guy with the stick, and he was doing all the crazy stuff. So, that's what I gravitated to. And Nate was like one of the biggest innovators of some of the most creative stuff I've ever seen. I mean, first of all, he was 6'8". Is 6'8". So he's a monster, and was just so good, so good. So, he was from the Northeast as well. So my dad used to drive me up to Massachusetts, and I would train with him. And, he was a big influence in that sense. And then Jody was, when I was coming up in the sport karate scene, his people coined him the super fighter. He was like untouchable, was fighting all the best guys in the world and just smashing everyone. He had a lot of really good fights with guys like Raymond Daniels, Michael Page. So, he was the one who was doing it before me. And he was in the Bronx, New York. So
Oh yeah.
as I was training and getting better, he was the guy I saw, and he was just kind of like a ghost, man. I would see him go out and crush everybody, but I never saw him around. So when I finally got introduced to him, I was like, listen, I'm doing whatever you did to get there. So, I just, he took me under his wing, man. And I was with him since I was like 16, and I still go down and train with him as much as I can. And he's still a big, big, big part of my life. I mean, he was at my wedding. I love that guy.
That's awesome. Do you ever do work with weapons nowadays, or is that part behind you?
I still teach. Yeah, I still teach. I have a couple students that still go out there and do their thing. So it's fun, man. It's fun to pick it up and still move it around and keep those skills alive. But I definitely love the teaching side of things. And with karate combat, the amount of time that I have to dedicate to, not just my profession, but also my combat career, to go and compete again in that. I don't think that's going to happen just yet. But again, maybe later, post fight career.
I gotta ask you about one more guy. I know I'm asking about a bunch of different people, but more
Yeah.
recently, Mr. Rob Font, the
Mm.
Boston Banger. What can you tell me about him? What it's like to train with him, be around him? Of course, coming off one of the biggest victories of his career, knockout of Adrian Yanez. What can you tell me about Rob Font?
Yeah, Rob's a beast, man. I mean, it's so funny because everyone, if I were to ask you, like, what is Rob's best weapon?
His boxing.
Yeah, but in particular, like, what is
His
that?
jab.
He always lands his jab, right? Like everyone's like, oh, Rob's got a good jab.
Yeah.
So me, the very first time we ever sparred together, in my mind, I'm like, Rob's got a good jab. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put my hands not like your typical high guard. I literally put my hands like here, and I'm like, how the fuck is this dude still hitting me with a jab? So yeah, Rob is just so slick, man, and like soft spoken, super cool, just chill. Um, yeah, man, the whole squad up there is just awesome. Like, we all share the same striking coach, we all share the same manager. So although I'm a lot bigger than those guys, so like Calvin and Rob, I'm not always doing rounds with them, but occasionally we're all around each other during camp and giving each other input. Like I was able to help a lot with Calvin's fight with Giga because of my ability to kick like him, and we saw how that fight played out.
What a
So
fight.
yeah, just Rob and I kind of going through camp at the same time. It just we fed off each other, and Rob came out early and supported me in Miami. I stuck around for the following week to support him. So it's just a good vibe we got up here, man. The whole crew is just solid, and it's growing. The New England Cartel is growing. I don't consider myself part of those guys, but I'm always around, and we're around each other. So just all around crazy good group, man. And you're gonna see more firepower from the New England real soon.
I bet they consider you part of the New England Cartel.
It would be an honor. I'd be honored.
So how many years have you been with? I know you're 4-0. So how many years have you been with Karate Combat now?
So I started with Karate Combat during COVID. My first fight with them, let's see, was what year are we? What year is this? 2023. So my first fight with them was 2021.
Okay, so like 2 or 3 years around that.
Yeah, a couple of years now.
I want to ask you about your relationship with the promotion, how they've taken care of you. How would you categorize, or what would you say about how they've treated you, your treatment within Karate Combat?
Unbelievable, man. They're a really great promotion, and I think the one thing that really stands out with them is, from top to bottom, all the staff are actually martial artists, and a lot of them have competed, whether they're world champions or still active. Like the president, Adam Kovac, is, he was a world champion in karate. So, you have someone who's promoting a league and is gathering the best fighters in the world, but also there's a sense of understanding and appreciation for what we go through. He knows what it is to train like a world champion and knows what it means to go in there and fight and get hit and stuff like that. So, and then you have even down to the commentary. You've got Boss Rutan is in there. I mean, Boss is a freaking legend. Josh Palmer, a lot of people think Josh Palmer is just a commentator. Josh is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's competed all over the place. Like
Oh yeah.
Josh is phenomenal. And then they bring in people like GSP, Machida, Wonder Boy. It's like there's always people who have just been involved from the very beginning. So, I think as far as how they take care of me, I'm super happy with them. Thus the re-signing long term.
Yep.
Um, I love the promotion. I love how different it is, how unique it is. Like it's just unlike anything that I've ever been a part of. And again, it's not just a bunch of businessmen using us as gladiators. It's they truly care about martial arts. They're rooted, and it's a different feel for sure.
I gotta shout out two of my friends that are tied to Karate Combat, Alex Wendling, Ben the Bane Davis. Those two guys
Yeah,
do good work for you guys too. So you guys got a squad. You guys got a good team of people over there.
yeah, good people.
So you spoke about the uniqueness of it. So you guys fight in a pit, is that correct? So
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
wild.
know. Like I said, I'm not as experienced as I don't have as great extensive knowledge on Karate Combat as I probably should. I will. You're the first of many Karate Combat interviews that I'm hoping to do in the next couple of weeks and months. But my biggest question for you, and it might be the dumbest question of all, but you don't train in a pit, do you? Ever?
I
Like
don't.
you're never
No,
in a pit until fight night?
correct.
So how do you like does it change it at all? Like how does that work training on like the mats versus the pit?
Yeah, I mean it's tough because I generally, most of my training is done in a ring. When I go for my sparring nights, most of my training partners are all kickboxers and high level kickboxers, world champions. So we train in a ring because they're helping me, I'm helping them. Um, when it comes down to my last couple of weeks of sparring, we take myself out of the ring and I go to the open mat and we just kind of shell off an area of generally like a 20 by 20 area that would simulate the amount of space I have in the pit. But you just can't unless you were to build your own.
Yeah.
You really can't account for the walls and what it feels like. And when you're watching it on YouTube or Karate Combat's channel or whatever it is, the broadcast doesn't do the pit justice. It's huge. It's huge. Like
Yeah.
if I was standing up, outside of the pit, it probably comes up to here. And I'm almost 6 feet. I'm a 5'11", 6 foot. So it's tall and it's really steep. Which it also doesn't look that steep when you're watching on TV. Um, but if you fall against the pit wall, first of all, you're not considered a down opponent. So people can hit you with spinning kicks, flying knees, like anything. And it's so steep that you can't just sit up. You have to like commit your hands. So it's a really dangerous place to be.
Damn.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where unless you're there, you really have no idea what it's like until you get in there and do it.
So you're not a grounded opponent, so they could throw like anything they want at you, right? When you're against the pit.
Anything, 2 fights ago, well, 3 fights ago, my second fight in Karate Combat, my first fight with Igor de Castaneda, I finished him with a spinning hook kick against the pit wall where he fell back, and I just stepped through, spun, and that's legal, man. He's not on the ground, so it makes it really really interesting. So yeah, you can throw anything you want out there.
Definitely. Wow, that's cool. All right, I got two more for you. I know you're a busy man. Just based on this
Yes, sir.
interview, talked about a bunch of different things you got going on. Uh, this is a tough question for someone that's undefeated, someone that's a two-time champion, that's everything's going so well. But I know you definitely still have goals. So, what are some goals for yourself? Maybe let's say for this 2-year contract with Karate Combat. What are the goals? What are you hoping to achieve in these 2 years?
Yeah, I think I'm not attached to wins and losses, and I think that's one of the things that makes me really dangerous is my record doesn't. I'm not attached to that. I don't care about my record, And you hear people like some of the best in the world, like when Izzy had his first loss in the UFC, he was like, "Yeah, I lose all the time in training. You guys just don't see it," and that's the truth. It's like all the people you see at the highest level, like Floyd Mayweather, I guarantee you somebody somewhere is whooping his ass on a regular basis because you have to have that to be the best in the world. There's no other way around it. So I'm not really attached to that. So for me, I want to fight the best guys in the biggest venues on the biggest stages and, take those challenges. So, I know it's funny. We were kind of chirping around different names when a couple of those guys from the UFC retired or left and became free agents. They were saying like Uriah Hall, Machida, even more recently Luke Rockhold, and I was like, yeah, I'm just like raising my hand, and not in a sense of like I think I'm so much better than these guys, but I just want to test myself,
Yep.
I've been around high level martial artists my whole life, so why not? You know, what do I have to lose? So yeah, I mean, goals. I wanna fight high level fighters. You know, anywhere that I can, anyhow that I can, and just test myself.
And it seems based on the way you fight, it seems like you like putting on a show for the fans. You pride yourself on that violent, that exciting style.
Yeah, man, that's what people want to see. That's why the league is paying me what they're paying me. So yeah, and you don't get paid by the minute. The only way to be exciting and get out there clean is to go and do work early. So, you know, I try and make quick work of these guys, and you know, so far so good. I'm just gonna stick with that. We put in a lot of hard work, man. You know, it's no fight is easy. You know, no matter how easy it looks, you know, you got to think about all the training we put into it too. So, you know, I just go in there and try and be exciting and impose my will and put my skills on display.
Definitely. I got one last one for you. I finish every
So
interview with this question. I'm excited. I'm curious to see what you got to say. When it's all said and done, I'm talking about teaching, training, fighting, whatever it may be. Kinesiology. What do you want people to remember most about Ross Levine above all else?
yeah, I think that's a great question, by the way. I think the most important thing for me is that people know that I'm genuine, that everything that they saw me do, heard me say, you know, that I walk the walk and I talk the talk, and like everything that I do is from my heart. You know, I'm not like a disrespectful guy. I'm confident. Some people think I'm a little cocky sometimes, but you know, it's just this is how I am, and I always try and lead by example. And you know, I own everything like a champion, whether I'm a champion or not. I have that championship, that black belt mentality, and just always trying to get better and do what I say I'm going to do. So I think for people to know that I was a person with integrity, that I worked my ass off, and everything I got was earned. You know, that's something that I'd be very proud of.
It's a great answer to a great
Thanks,
question,
man.
as you mentioned. It seems like you definitely got that mentality down. It's definitely reflecting that undefeated record. Excited to see what's next for you in the next couple months and these 2 years. Looking forward to seeing you maybe on that June card, man. Thank you for taking the time, Ross.
My pleasure, man. I hope to be on that June card as well. And if not, you know, keep looking out for Karate Combat. I know there's a bunch of crazy announcements coming up. So, dude, I appreciate this. This was great. I'm a big fan of everything you do. So, anytime you got some time, man,
Oh
I'm here
yeah,
for you.
let's do it. After you win your next fight, we'll talk again. All right.
Sounds
Let's
good.
do it. Be good, brother.